Alright, so guys, we're here with the one and only Helena Kristiansson. How are you doing, Helena?
Fantastic.
Alright, so how's the event going so far for you and the photography team in general?
I think it's really good. CS is one of my personal favorites. It's an emotional game, so it's always fun to shoot.
Yeah, and you've been around so many different games, taking photos and seeing multiple teams and different players in different games. What's the most special thing that you see in CS, especially after its evolution from 2012, 2013 to 2016 today here at Lanxess?
I think the biggest part is probably the stages growing and the stadiums coming into play. That's all really cool, but that's not why I like CS. Why I like CS is because there's constant action. Every 2 minutes you get emotion. Every round you get emotion, and it's not like that in other games. Usually you have to wait maybe 30 minutes until the end of the game, and then you get some emotion. So for pure photography perspective, this is a really good game.
And talking about big events from a photography aspect, I've had a bit of my experience during my younger times, but during events, it gets really stressful and very, physically stressful as well to run around the entire stage with an arena with 14,000 people like we're going to have this weekend. Mm-hmm. How do you, put yourself physically and mentally ready to go in there and take these beautiful photos that we see?
The mental part is easy. It's pure hype. I live on hype, and that goes a long way. The physical part is, I think I just get used to it. I always carry my camera around when I travel with 2 big heavy bags. It's after a while that your body gets used to it, so it's just habit. I've done a lot of events.
Yeah, that's for sure. For yourself and your photography team. Obviously, you're not on your own. You have a few people with you. How is it like to divide the work basically between you three? I believe this event. How do you divide it up, especially during groups and during the main stage?
I think everyone has their strengths, so I lead my team and I try to cater to that. So we have Patrick, who's really good at emotion shots. I usually put him on that. I usually do the wide shots, like the big stadiums and the crowds and whatever. If it's an even game, we put one photographer on each side. We maybe have one in the back to catch the crowd's reaction to the end of the game. So it's always about where you are, and maybe we need to speed up the editing process, so one is editing and one is shooting. It's always a flow of how you work.
All right. And other than that, how do you basically what really pushed you to get to these esports events? Because obviously most photographers are going to start off with taking your private photo shoots and later on concerts and plays, etc. What pushes you to do esports? Pushed you to do esports in the first place, and then go into more professional esports photography?
I started photography when I was really, really young. My dad always took a lot of photos, so I used to borrow his camera. But that was something completely separate from events and esports. I started when I was 16, back in 2004. I started volunteering for DreamHack, actually, not as a photographer, but just in the different teams that they have. And eventually, at one point, there was an opening in the photography team, and I'm like, I like taking photos. This could be cool. And I did. I shot one event. DreamHack Winter 2011 was my first event, and I absolutely loved it. And ever since then, I've just that's all I wanted to do. And people told me, this is not something you can have as a job. Helena, you should let it go. And I just didn't, because I really, really wanted it. And it paid off. I've shot 85 events now, so...
85 events. I think it was last week that you completed your 2 years with ESL.
Yeah.
So how did it change from being freelancer previously, or working with DreamHack, to now working with ESL and being contracted to so many different events in the world? What's changed over time?
I do a lot more events. Only 20 of those 85 were before I joined ESL, so 65 events in 2 years. It's a lot. I also get a lot more insight into the whole process behind it. I get to plan with the crew. I can gradually improve the situation for the photography team and try to make it good for everyone. Because in the past, the events have always been catered to the audience and to the stream. So it's been a TV broadcast and a live show. But no one really thought about photographers. And now we're slowly incorporating photographers into the process, and I think it's a huge improvement in 2 years.
And speaking of preparations, how do you prepare in terms of your equipment and the editing software that you use and all of that during the event itself and previous to it? So during the event, you can work on that specific schedule.
I think it's not so much of preparation for each event. It's just finding your own workflow. And it has to be fast. We have a huge social media team who basically wants the photos almost before they were shot. So you have to let go a little bit of your perfectionist side, which I had a big time before I started here. And then you just, I never open my photos in Photoshop, ever.
I love that. That's like speaking to me on a spiritual level at this point.
Yeah. I do a lot of editing, but I only do camera raw and just raw editing, no Photoshop.
That's fantastic. It's finally good to hear someone saying things like that. Speaking of that, what do you think are the qualities that are required to go from a normal event photographer to an esports photographer? Are there certain things that are that stand out between different types of these photographers?
If you mean like a normal event, like non-esports related, I think the biggest difference at a normal event, you can use flash. And that makes shooting in low light very much easy compared to esports, where you can't use the flash at all because you would disturb the players and you would be disturbing the broadcast and the live cameras. So you need to know how to push your camera to its very limit and then keep pushing the picture in your computer when you're editing. You need to have a lot of patience. I can sometimes, maybe not in Counter-Strike, but a lot of other games, I can stand for 20 minutes holding, keep every 20 seconds, I keep refocusing on one player just to wait for them to do their reaction.
And speaking of, the one player, in CS especially, right now, is there one player, let's say, or one or two or three maybe maximum? What are the players that you really like to focus on because they always give you that type of emotion that you love to capture with your photos?
Actually, this major kind of surprised me. I know which ones to aim for normally, but I think so far this major has been amazing. Every team is really in it. They all really want to win, and they show a lot of emotion. So I have way more shots than normal. They're all my favorites now. So
basically just stand around and take whatever picture because everybody is so super hyped. Like now we were talking to a Flipside after winning.
Yeah, they were crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And, we were talking about your camera. Can you give us a quick run through of maybe the equipment that you use, your favorite stuff during the event?
Sure. I have a Canon 5D Mark III.
Camera.
I shoot. I have all lenses at 2.8, f-stop 2.8, and barely go above it. I always stay at 2.8 because it's always dark. I have a 16 to 35, 24 to 70, 70 to 200, and a 15 millimeter fisheye.
So this is the one that you use, when you're capturing the big stage and all that kind of stuff, like the photos we saw from Katowice and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Those, I have to say, I'm still sometimes, I pass through them, looking at old events and stuff, and just see these pictures, and it's like, this is what I want to be a part of. So basically, that's, for me, the beautiful thing about photography is that you're immortalizing this beautiful moment, and it keeps all of us fans, moving on and really enjoying these kinds of things. A final question, you have esportphotos.com, run your own Instagram, which I happen to follow as well. A lot of pretty nice pictures on there. Is there a reason why you opened this website for everybody to check out a few years ago?
Yeah, I opened it when I was still a freelancer to try in a professional way to reach out to as many as possible. I wanted to show people what eSport is like if they don't know what eSport is, and I want people who were there at the event to remember just how they felt in that moment when the picture was taken. And that's in general, that's my goal with my photography. I want people to remember their feelings, or if they weren't able to be there, to have the same feelings as the people that were there.
All right. Well, beautiful stuff, Helena. Really looking forward to the pictures that you're going to have this weekend. I think already we've seen them. They've all been edited as well by the meme team we saw with Oliver. So there's a lot more to be coming up as well. So good luck to you and your team. Hopefully this event just go through as well as the group stages have come here. You just keep seeing more of these beautiful photos. Thanks a lot for being here. And thanks you guys at home for checking out the videos, for dropping down. Please say hello here at eFrag. Tweet us at eFragNet. And let's see what you have to say. The beautiful photos that keep everybody alive during these events for the past few years. They're right here. So say thank you, please. So see you guys later. Bye-bye.